Hello guys, this is an instructional video on how to make various inversions in Theme Park Tycoon 2 on Roblox. Now, the coasters that can invert are the steel coaster, the inverted coaster, the multi-launch coaster, the phase turbine coaster, the flying coaster, the wing coaster, the vertical launch coaster, the hydraulic launch coaster, the floorless coaster, the dive coaster, the single rail coaster, the inverted launch coaster, and the Beyond Vertical Drop Coaster. To begin with, we are going to start with the most basic inversion, the vertical loop. Now, to do a vertical loop, you need a small upward incline section, and then you have to go into the more pieces and scroll down to the looping section. It's going to be highlighted because that is one of the only pieces you can put after a slight incline. You can do a normal looping or a looping large. It just depends on the space you're working with and the coaster type. And you basically select the piece you want, click, and it will place. And then if you're on flat terrain, you might want to flatten out the incline. The next inversion we're going to talk about is the corkscrew. This is another very easy inversion to make. It just requires you to access the More Pieces menu and scroll all the way down to the bottom. There you will have 4 different pieces. You have to begin a corkscrew with a corkscrew going up right or up left. It doesn't really matter which way you choose. And after you place that, you have to go back into the menu, scroll down to the bottom again, and you have to choose a downward facing opposite direction corkscrew. So if you go up right, you should place a down left facing corkscrew. And if you go up left, you should place it down right. Now we're going to get into some more advanced inversions. These are the Serpent Roll and the Cobra Roll. So to begin these, you have to start with a slight incline like you would for a loop, but instead select a half loop in the menu for More Pieces. Once you do that, you will go back into the More Pieces menu, and you will try and find a corkscrew. The corkscrew is to help with the transition. It makes it fluid and easy. So but you have to select a down right or a down left corkscrew. Then go back into the menu and select an up left or an up right. If you want to create a Cobra Roll, you have to go down left and up left, or down right and up right. Basically staying in the same direction but going up and down. But if you want to do a Serpent Roll, you're going to basically have to start out the way you would a Cobra Roll, but instead of going up left or up right, you'd go in the opposite direction. So if you were to go down left, you would go up right, creating this weird rollover kind of effect. This next inversion is fairly simple as long as you know how to bank. So what you're going to do is you're going to start by using a steep slope up, and you are going to have to bank it at least 30 degrees. Any less in the next piece won't be able to get you into an inverting position. So you have to bank it at least 30 degrees. You can go over that, but it has to be at least 30. And then you will select a flat slope that will straighten it out and stop it from going up. And with this piece, you will turn it 180 degrees, completely inverted. And then you'll have to place a steep slope down that will have to invert back to 30 degrees again, keeping with that more balanced mentality to keep the inversion balanced, I guess. And then you will flatten it out using a flat steep slope, and you don't have to stop inverting. The next inversion is a cutback, which is very simple. You just start out a corkscrew with an upright or an up left, and you finish it going down in the same direction, so down right or down left if you started up right or up left. The dive loop consists of you starting out a 0G roll by doing the same thing, making a steep slope up at 30 degrees banked to whatever direction you want, then doing a half 0G roll by getting it fully inverted. But after that, you have to go down into more pieces and select a half loop down. And that's basically the way you get the inversion itself, but you can exit the inversion by maybe turning or just going under the other track. These next inversions are created very similarly to the dive loop. What you'd start out with is a half 0G roll with steep slopes and banking them to whatever direction you want, getting them fully inverted. After that, you do something similar to the Cobra and Sea Serpent roll by using the corkscrews in more pieces to go. You have to choose down left or down right, it doesn't matter. And the same way you did with the corkscrew and Cobra rolls, you'd go up in the same direction if you wanted a reverse Cobra roll. And a very specific detail, if you want it to be a full reverse roll, you will have to use a down steep slope, but bank the inversion outwards. You always have to enter with the train facing away from the center of the inversion, or else it will just be a stall, and it doesn't work as well. And you have to flatten it after that. And for a Sea Serpent roll, it's essentially the same way. You just do a down right or down left and then an up in the opposite direction. So this is a down right and you would do an up left. This next inversion is probably the most complicated one you can do in Basic Editor. So it begins with a run up into a top hat, but instead of inverting where your train goes on to the outside and flies over the top hat giving airtime, you will flip it to where the coaster will face inward towards the center of the top hat. And you have to do a turn. When you turn it, you have to reverse the banking all the way to the other direction, so when you level it out, your train will stay upside down. It's very complicated, and it takes a little getting used to. And after that, you just go over the hill like you would a normal top hat. Then the banking out process is essentially the reverse of what you did. So you'd bank the exit the track outwards, and you'd turn it outwards, and you'd bank the track 180 degrees, or back to normal in this situation. The Batwing and the bowtie are fairly easy to make, but they just require a little more spending. So you'd start out with a corkscrew, up left or up right, however you want it to enter, do a half loop, and then the bottom track that's below the entrance can be whatever you want. It can be flat, it can be like a V shape, it can be anything you want. I just recommend to keep it balanced, and then do a slight up, and then reverse what you did on the other side, and create a inversion that enters and exits the same way, if you want to create a Batwing. And if you want to create a bow tie, just do it in the opposite direction. Have the inversion exit the opposite way that it entered, like this.